And so when he saw Bitcoin, he's like, I can now control, and they can't take it away. They can't devalue it because one Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin. It's like literally an ounce of gold. Now, they can try to confiscate it. And with gold, they can literally come to your house and try to take it out of the vault. Bitcoin is a little tougher. Now, they could torture you until you gave up your seed phrase, but I don't think they're going to do that, but I mean, certainly could.
Mark Yusko often begins by pointing out an uncomfortable truth. The financial system we live under wasn't designed to benefit us. It was designed to benefit those in power. For decades, rules have been written to keep individuals dependent on banks, brokers, and centralized institutions. Take the 401k, for example. Many of us grew up believing it was a gift, a portable retirement savings plan that allowed workers more control. But Yusko reminds us of history. The 401k wasn't created for our benefit. It was created so corporations could offload responsibility. With defined benefit pensions, companies had to guarantee lifelong payments to retirees. With defined contribution plans like the 401k, they only needed to contribute a little up front, leaving the risk, volatility, and uncertainty entirely on the worker.
Hello everyone, this is BTC Insight, and welcome to yet another deep dive into BTC Insight. Before we jump in, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. You won't want to miss this.
Right now, it's against the law to own real estate, private investments, venture capital, digital assets, commodities in your 401k. And all of those things I think are good. So I do think it's coming. Like I said, I don't know for certain whether this executive order can mandate the change. I feel like it needs to be like the Tax Act of 86, which again had nothing to do with taxes. I mean, it had a little to do with taxes, but it was really about converting from defined benefit to defined contribution and the 401k that we know today. And, you know, again, we think it was this great gift to us and portability, but it really was as a way for corporations to give us less, right? They had to put a lot more in a defined benefit because they had to actually pay for our benefits. With defined contribution, they can give us some, and then they can create this mythological number that is going to compound at, even though the average 401k never compounds at that number. And that's why the average 401k is so small. And then you got the risk of market volatility causing 401ks to turn into 201ks and 101ks, which has happened multiple times. But anyway, I'm happy that we got the executive order, but I don't know that we're done yet. That this is not, magic internet money. It's not some mythological thing. What we have is a technological evolution. It's not even a revolution. It's an evolution of technology that I've said it many, many times in the past that, the internet, which was feared and reviled and fought against because it displaced incumbents in two very large industries, media and commerce. If you controlled media and, like a newspaper or radio station or television station, and you got to decide when you disseminated information and what information got disseminated, and there was this open-ended, universal 24/7 machine with all of the knowledge of human history, right? And it's in your palm, this thing called the internet. It's like, well, I don't want that. I don't want that. I can't control that. Well, yeah. It's like when Bill Gates was on the David Letterman show saying, no, you don't want the internet. You want the Microsoft intranet. Hell to the no. No, we don't. So that disintermediation of media and ultimately commerce, when you wanted something in the olden days, you went to the store and maybe they had it, maybe they didn't, and you could have them order it for you. It took time. And now you punch a button and it shows up on your front porch, sometimes even within a couple hours. That disintermediation was because of this technological evolution from generic computing to functional software. And now we're in this next iteration, which is what a blockchain does is it organizes and stores data in a way that revolutionizes or evolutionizes, I guess, financial services. Financial services is the largest industry in the world, and it's not close, right? And it governs, to your point, governs ownership, right? The right to something, take money, right? We all think we have money and we put it in the bank, and we don't ever stop to think, well, wait a minute, why did I give my money to the bank? Because now it's the bank's money. And they might give it back to me, and most of the time they do. But technically, and actually, the ownership, because of this large morass of government systems, says it's actually theirs. And if you read the fine print, which no one does, right? They don't have to give it to you when you ask for it. They don't have to allow you to use it for the things that you want to use it for. They can ask you questions like I've talked about where okay, I want to transfer some money. Like, to what? Well, it's none of your business. I mean, literally, it's none of your business. Like, well, yeah, it is. And if you don't tell me, then I'm not going to do it. So, and then the New York Times prints the article that, having a bank account is not a fundamental right.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, time out. So we can fix that. Blockchains fix that. If I own an asset on blockchain, I don't need the bank's permission. I don't need the government's position. I don't need anyone's permission to move it to you or to my, my son or anybody else. I mean, my son came in today, and so I had a call this morning, so he had to walk home from cross-country practice. He's like, I demand compensation. They're like, well, no. I mean, it's good for you to get a little exercise.
Or extra practice, from
extra practice. But if I did want to compensate him, I can, punch a couple buttons. I don't need to ask the bank's permission to say, should I be allowed to give some of my money to my son? And that's a better system. And so we're on the precipice of truly landmark evolution in, as you said very correctly, governance of value dissemination and control. And that's a really cool place to be, as long as you're not dependent on the rents of the old system. If you happen to be dependent on the rents of the old system, bank, broker, insurance company, custody agent, you don't like it very much because, I just a simple example, stablecoin, right? If I, sitting on my couch in my pajamas on Sunday morning and I want to buy something, if I want to use fiat, I got to wait for the bank to open, or I got to use a credit card and pay somebody 3%. With a stablecoin, I can do it instantaneously, basically for free. I mean, it's not quite free, but it's, essentially free. And that's just a better system. And will it always be hegemonically backed by dollars? Probably not. But in the short run, this is certainly a way for the U.S. to solve one of their greatest problems: who's going to buy all the debt.
So what is blockchain in Yusko's view? Simply put, it's a new way of organizing and securing data that removes the need for trusted intermediaries. In the traditional system, ownership is always mediated. If you have money in a bank, it isn't really yours. It belongs to the bank. The bank decides whether you can move it, how much you can access, and sometimes even ask why you want to use it. Blockchain changes this dynamic entirely. If you own a digital asset on the blockchain, it's yours. You don't need permission to transfer it. You don't need to rely on a government, bank, or clearinghouse. You can send it to your child, your business partner, or anyone across the globe with just a few clicks.
Yeah, someone did an AI of the Jekyll Island meeting, right, where they came together to form the Federal Reserve. And it's basically them telling you all the things that they would never tell you, that, yeah, we're not doing this for you. We're doing this for us. We're trying to make ourselves richer. We want to be in control. We want you to be debt slaves to us by us controlling the fiat. And it's very well done, and it's funny, but it's so true in the sense that, look, if a group of people can create an institution to issue money, right? And they call it the Federal Reserve, even though it's not federal, or it's not part of the government. And it's not a reserve in the sense it doesn't, unlike a bank, which has deposits, there's nothing there. So what is it? Well, it's a mechanism for stealing wealth, right, through the process of inflation, which they propagandize to make us believe it's good for us somehow. And I say, like, how is it that something that's engineered to take half my purchasing power every generation a good thing? I mean, there's on no planet is that good. So, but we've been propagandized to believe that somehow these guys have our and it's guys, right? There was a bunch of old men, and they did it. And so now we have this liberating, because I love the liberty word as well. We have this liberating technology that allows us to fight back. And I keep going back all the time to, and again, I could never really understand this because I'm not that, right? I mean, what I mean is Wences Casares grew up in Argentina, and he watched, and he speaks passionately about this, he watched his family lose everything 3 times, right? They built up a fortune. The government took it away by devaluing the currency. They built the fortune back up. The government took it away. And so when he saw Bitcoin, he's like, I can now control, and they can't take it away. They can't devalue it because one Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin. It's like literally an ounce of gold. Now, they can try to confiscate it. And with gold, they can literally come to your house and try to take it out of the vault. Bitcoin is a little tougher. Now, they could torture you until you gave up your seed phrase, but I don't think they're going to do that. But I mean, certainly could. But I think the difference here is when you have this shift in mindset that, wait, I don't have to be controlled by this fiat control mechanism. That is a very liberating thing. And that's why people who don't spend any time thinking about what is this technology, what is blockchain technology, what is Bitcoin, and a lot of people on the internet say study Bitcoin. Like, that's actually really good advice. I mean, doing the work to understand, you will, I believe, anyone who does any amount of work will have that aha moment. You had it, I had it, everyone we kind of respect in the industry has had it. And we all come about it different ways, but you have it when you see that fundamental understanding of, wait a minute, this is a better way to own things, right? Read, write, own. So analog is fine. Bare assets, we gotta meet, we gotta exchange our chickens and our cows. And then electronic is better because we can leave the chickens and cows at home. We can trade, stock certificates with QSIPs. But digital is better.
So where does this leave us? Mark Yusko's insights remind us that we are at a crossroads. The old system, built on fiat, intermediaries, and centralized control, was never designed to empower individuals. It was designed to extract value from them. But a new system, powered by blockchain and digital assets, is emerging. One that offers speed, efficiency, and most importantly, freedom. For those willing to understand it, embrace it, and invest in it, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. But for those clinging to the old world, the transition may feel like a threat. Mark Yusko's message is clear. Study Bitcoin, study blockchain, and don't dismiss what you don't yet understand. Because just like the internet revolution, this change will reshape everything, from how we store value to how we transact to how we define ownership itself.
That's it for today's look into BTC Insight. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay on top of all the latest insights. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll catch you in the next one.